Beardy and the Beast, the second wall.
Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. This is placeholder intro song.
Welcome to the Second Wall, a binge-free zone where we look at a series and discuss it in small chunks, similar to water cooler conversations of old. We can be found on most social media platforms and podcast platforms, a full list of which can be found at beautyandthebeast.com. Today, Drew and I will be discussing episodes 3 and 4 of Eve no Jikan. If you haven't watched these yet, please do. We will be here when you return. There will be light spoilers surrounding these episodes.
There is no love here.
So, do you think you'd be able to follow the rules as well as they did with Cataran?
I don't know if they were. It seemed like a fairly contrived scene. I think under more analysis, I don't think it would hold up.
I kind of enjoyed that scene. I mean, I know we're obviously jumping to episode 4 a little bit instead of 3, but it I liked it because just like the robots have their 3 rules to follow,
Mm.
them essentially being forced to follow a rule as well was something that's clearly an android. I think it worked well, so that they were. It was an interesting take on playing with Asimov's rules
Mm.
because now the humans are having to play with those rules to still match the 3 rules of 3 laws of robotics. You're looking at the 3 rules of robotics, aren't you?
Yeah, I just need to confirm something.
Mm.
I just don't buy it because, like, it's not imperative that the robot pretend to be a human.
I think technically it was because it read the rules of the sign, which is going to be an order from a human. So it has to follow. I think that's the first rule, isn't it?
Second.
Or second.
I think the fourth episode was more to allude to some type of backstory for Misaki.
Mm. I kind of got that hint. I jotted it down, but I don't think it's the case. But I actually said I jotted down, is Misaki the boy that he raised?
Hmm.
So
I
I
mean, it wouldn't have been. There would have been
yeah.
at least some form of recognition. I think.
Yeah.
I definitely think that there was a robot in Misaki's household,
Mhm.
and he no longer has one. I was wondering in episode 3 if I put it on the wayside because I don't think this way anymore, but I had a quick suspicion that there was some type of issue with his dad and like robot love.
Mm.
But I think it's more
Ex-
likely that there was an accident and maybe something related to his mother, maybe a death or something.
yeah. It's interesting because I think this did highlight that Misaki does have a larger issue with the androids beyond just his, just getting red work from his parents, from his
I
father.
really, because it really just reinforced my thought on that these two
Hmm.
episodes. Um, but then again, I did have that wondering, like, was there an incident at home?
Yeah.
Is there some
Ooh,
like some type of understandable emotional damage that?
I think I got something.
Okay.
So it's going to play on both of these episodes and kind of your thoughts on it. I think this clarifies it a bit more. He clearly thinks humans should be with humans, android and not androids. he's only talked about his father.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take that idea of the android love, but it's his mother that fell in love with an android, and then the family split from there.
Mm, no.
No,
Well,
all
there
right.
hasn't been any mention of the mother. Like, it's a twist that could happen, but because the structure of this, like, there hasn't been any indication of like maternal parent. Though I do think Misaki's dad is on the ethics board,
Mm,
which seems very suspect to me now.
yeah. Oh, just a little bit. um, yeah, it was like that's literally a thought that just came to my mind with what you were discussing there. I didn't necessarily see any evidence to it, but I think I think there's something else there deeply seated in Misaki. How much it'll change is I'm not sure, but I think you could be seeing a change in his character that I'm not 100% convinced is going to be there yet.
What I started wondering, and this actually goes to what we were talking about in the last cast, um, the philosophical undertones of this. So,
Mm.
the second law is the robot shall obey any instruction given to it by a human.
Yeah.
And Akiko pretends to, well, acts as if Akiko does not know the two boys outside of the cafe.
Mm.
Is that just a well hidden uh, macrocosm of what we saw with the older version of the robot? Or are these androids only acting the way they are because the sign says to?
Mm. That's definitely an interesting question. So I can
Like,
definitely see that, but there's a hint that that's not necessarily the case. And it's again the little interactions we're getting between Semi and Rukio. Like I'm expecting them to be having a conversation outside or at their house as opposed to at the cafe. And they kind of played with it at the end of 3.
but even
Like
then, they don't, and we might just be projecting onto it.
it's very possible, but it's one thing that I'm liking about the series overall. It's still keeping that it's giving us good questions, right? Be it can they even interact outside of that, or can they, or as you said, are they just following the rules of the sign? And that's the only reason they're acting like that. Like again, I don't necessarily know if I'd be upset if that doesn't get answered either.
Well,
Just kind of having these hints work.
given the way that the twists tend to be in the Asimov stories, if it were to be following that and not just slice of life with a little dusting of
Mm.
Asimov, if it is more heavily Asimov, then the most likely situation is that they just act that way because the sign says to.
Yeah.
Um, like we have closest thing we have to like perceived emotions outside of it was like a single shot with like a potential smile that could have been caused by the conversation that was occurring.
Because there was another shot with that too, where I'm assuming you're talking about Sammy's smile,
Yeah.
because there was also a clear look of Sammy being disappointed before the smile.
But she always looks disappointed. She always has that expression on her face.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm wondering if we're
Yeah.
being misled by like a desire or projection.
Oh,
Because it could easily be that way. And
I agree. I think, again, I think it's, if that is the route they go, again, I think it's a purposeful, I think it's a very purposeful misdirection and lie, because again, to bring out the philosophical undertones of it. The fact that we're having these questions, I think, is a big part of what this series is trying to do.
I'm worried about it though, because we're
Right?
2/3 of the way through, and not much has happened.
Welcome to Slice of Life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you also have like the Japanese storytelling. So if something's going to
Yeah.
happen, it's going to be in episode 5, and at the end of it, that's where we're going to have our conflict.
Yeah.
Probably going to be between Riku and Sammy. Maybe something caused by Misaki's dad.
Mm.
I'm wondering about Mystery School Girl.
Mm.
Like, what is she play into this?
Yeah, that, I'm curious where that's going to. I have a suspicion. Well, I guess I have two suspicions with that. So the first is she is also against the robots, and she is disappointed that Misaki seems to get along with them.
Mm.
The other one, I don't know if we have evidence for anything like this, and it doesn't quite make sense, but could be interesting. Is what if the androids could just turn off that ring? Be ordered to have that ring off.
Well, there's nothing in the. I don't think there's anything in the series like they suggested that the ring should be on.
Yes.
But that being said, there has to be a feature to turn it off. For instance, having like a light or something moving around your apartment while you're trying to sleep. Like there's got to be a quality of life setting for that to
Yeah.
be turned off.
Yeah.
Um and it really just seems to be an identifier because visually you can't tell a human from one of these androids.
Yeah. So it's hard to tell, 'cause, like, we've seen them in the dark, but we saw it's just like the dim red light over Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So is that the quality of life? Clearly they can turn it off, or clearly it can be turned off because it's off in Jikan.
Mm.
So I don't know if you'd be able to have it off outside. And there's one, I can't quite recall this. So um with Rena, or was it Rena? Yeah, with Rena. She was modified. I don't remember if we saw a ring on her when she was acting as a bodyguard
I I
in that
don't
flashback.
remember seeing it. With that being said, if you have like a VVVIP, like we're talking like Big Bang fan VIP,
Yeah.
you don't get that joke. Um, you're gonna want your security robot to blend in, or in this case, be a very feminine woman and look docile while being like BA. You know,
Yeah.
like if if I had an android bodyguard, it would probably be. I'd probably want it to be cloaked in so much that you would not expect like pure combat skill to come out of like something that looks 5'4", 5'2",
Yeah. 90
female,
pounds
like
soaking
dainty,
wet.
yeah, and then all of a sudden she's doing backflips and like caving in your skull with a backhand. Like
Yeah.
that's that would be the best bodyguard.
Yeah. Yeah. Your best bodyguard is someone who looks like Summer Glau.
Yes, 100%. the I think the guy android in that one, uh
OG?
Koji.
Yeah.
I think he had his ring off initially while in bed with his master, and then when he sat up, it turned on.
So, this is something I noticed. So, um, they're very careful with their framing. I'm not sure if you've caught this. They did it with Akiko. Is when I first noticed it. Didn't quite think enough of it, and I've kind of noticed it a little bit more throughout. So, when you're framing a shot, normally there's the thirds rule
Mm.
for filming. So you generally have like the eye line would be centered at the top third of the screen.
Yeah.
And then the top and the third above that would be the background or whatever. They set this higher up. The only time we're seeing the top of like anywhere above that is when they're actually revealing that it's an android. So I
And then
don't
they
think the
put the
ring was
ring in that where the eye line would usually.
exactly. So I don't think the ring was off. I think it was out of frame.
Mm.
Because it matches one of the predictions that we're having. We're talking about, are there androids? I said probably most interesting of both end up being androids, and they held that reveal off until Misaki and Koji were talking about human and androids being together.
I agree. The fun thing there though was your hope that came true. Was that both Rina and Koji were androids.
Mhm.
With the further twist that they might not even know that each other are androids.
Yes,
Which
and in fact, I don't think they do.
I think that's a really interesting situation. That being said, even if they did, they wouldn't be permitted to act as if it's not a human
Mhm.
because of the rules of the cafe.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I'm stuck on this now. I really like this theory. I legitimately would be very satisfied if there's this entire government investigation that occurs and they're like, why are they developing personalities? It's like, well, they're not. It was just the sign.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I would be super happy if that happened.
so I feel like they kind of hinted at that it's not, well, I guess it could be the sign, but it is not isolated to being in the cafe. Because weren't they talking about a rise in androids with odd with personality changes? I feel like they mentioned that.
No, just there was a thing about vagrant androids, which it comes down to abandoned ones.
Mm.
One thing I noticed in the end of episode 2 is the chart that they had all had lines leading to one intersecting point.
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of data, and each one had lines that were connecting it, and they all ended up at what was implied to be the cafe, but might not have been.
Mm.
If they didn't put like a label on
Right.
it.
Right. That's fair.
Um,
I I think I missed that in that map, but I could definitely see that being the case because there's one thing that caught my eye in episode 3 when um Rukyo and Rainy were talking.
mm,
There was it jumped out at me, but above where Rainy was when she was fixing her leg, there's like just for a second like a little light that flashed, like a little green light.
mm,
And immediately in my mind is went, someone's spying on them here.
mm.
I'm not sure if it was just something I didn't notice, but no, it stood out to me enough that I'm like, I think there's something there.
There was something weird about that shot. And it was more than Just Riku being a perv.
Yeah.
You gotta use your perif. um, no, jokes aside, there's something weird about that shot, and it didn't come off as like intended to be artistic.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking there might be some type of like that might be something we encounter.
Yeah. No, because I could definitely see that. The the only thing that plays a little bit of a though, nope, I can explain this away. So my question would be, or I guess got a couple questions with that. What had what drew Cataran to the cafe?
Hmm.
And clearly they introduced Cataran trying to struggle with memories, trying to like as Nagi said, like he held those memories in his heart even before he got to the cafe. So while the cafe might accentuate this, there seems to be something there ahead of that. So it causes people to be drawn there. Otherwise, why would he why would Keteran feel like he's searching for the boy? Because that's the feeling I got from him.
But that was all from exposition of others. So it was
Mm,
very constructed. It was very well. Um, who are you? The robot has to figure it out and draw from its memory banks. Like everything that the robot did could have been explained away simply by like algorithm.
with for the most part, I agree. But we see his memory of the boy. That's what episode 4 opened with before he was ever in the cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And again, why why drawn to the cafe at all?
Oh, for all we know, there's like some type of internet posting.
That's fair.
Like it's an unmarked cafe. Why would the robot even know it exists?
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Um, no, one thing that I've noticed about this is um, and the reason why I'm suspicious, mainly about the sign, is um, it's almost like this is actually kind of intriguing. It also goes back to like where they're displaying the ring and like the framing.
Yeah.
They are constructing it in such a manner that it is so easy to project upon and theorize about.
Hmm.
Like they're intentionally doing that so that um you think that was it Cataran has a personality and has a heart.
Hmm.
Um but all it was doing was reacting to the boys and some flashes of scenes with someone saying he held that memory in his heart.
Yeah.
There's no expression of heart. Like if you were to take that context out, you'd be like, okay, it's got this one frame memory that it was able to call upon when asked who it was, and that was the most applicable. So
Yeah.
like I'm not saying per se that like I'm hoping it's the sign just because I think it'd be a great twist. Um but I do it's quite apparent what the animators
Hmm.
and the scene construction are trying to do. And it
Yeah.
is trying to like make you question like are these things alive or are they still robots? Like
Yeah.
so it is a little bit more philosophical than I was anticipating in episode 1.
Yeah. And yeah, and that's fair. Because I guess we have no idea if that flash of that scene was meant to be a flashback. It could have just been a cold open teaser.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely there, but that ambiguity is is really well done. Like,
I'll tell you, I don't think Nagi is a android.
I think
What?
Nagi's an android.
I don't think she's an android. I don't think she's an android at all.
All right.
I think she's the cafe owner and she's a Dorike. And yeah.
All right. So, what is giving you that suspicion?
It comes down to sign theory. She created specifically a cafe because she thinks robots are unique and have personalities, and constructed a perfect environment for them to act as if human. So it's just reinforcing her Dory kindness.
Okay. So, I think she's an android. My evidence for this, it's kind of built on what you were saying. Like, it was kind of a missing piece that kind of makes it fit a little bit better. When Kataran came in, when he looked at Rikyo and Misaki,
Mm.
there was a clear visual scan of them. Like, they lit up, I can't remember if it was red or blue, but like they were identified that way,
Mm.
which we didn't see when he was looking at Nagi. But he has to listen to what Nagi says because of the rule on the sign, saying you have to listen to a human and you have to pretend everyone in here is a human.
So the reason why you think that she's an android is because the absence of evidence.
Yes.
The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Okay,
It's because
I mean
yeah.
it's I don't think I should construct a argument against it, because it has as much founding as any of my theories in this.
Yeah.
The only way I would be satisfied if she was an android is if she showed those personality traits and then constructed the cafe of her own accord. To create the... I wouldn't want her to be a victim of the sign. Like, I wouldn't want her to be like a child of that environment. Rather, I'd want her to be like the mother of that environment.
Yes.
That's I'd be satisfied with that. Sign theory, best theory.
Well, I think that would be an interesting take if they reveal it either way. That would be the kind of take I would want.
Mm.
I don't know if I'd be satisfied if she was just a Dorikai. Just because and this is how they're portraying Dorikai. It's got such negative connotation.
Such negative connotation that if someone created as a special cafe, they'd probably keep it secret. Otherwise, there would be animosity towards it.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It's just like, one thing about Katarin is, like, I don't think there's anything indicating that it was its first time in that cafe.
I thought they asked if it was his first time or if he was new there. No, that could have just been them thinking that. I remember there being something mentioned about that, but yeah, I don't think it was necessarily directed to him.
Yeah,
That's fair.
So I'm wondering, like...
Well, I guess the fact that he didn't seem familiar with anyone else there, but I mean that could be if his memory was just wiped or something too. Yeah.
Well, there was only the two boys in the cafe owner. Well, I guess the girl and the...
Yeah.
That's true. Well, I mean, it was obviously having memory degradation.
Yeah. Well, they straight up said that his memory was probably completely wiped.
Which, I mean, like, lame.
Yeah. So again, I'm gonna say this with Nagi again. I really hope they don't reveal either way. I I, I feel like I would be disappointed with a reveal if it happens at all.
Does that
I
require
like that.
confirmation bias?
I like the fact that it's ambiguous. Like again, there's a reason why I bust out laughing when you said you're sure she's human,
Pretty sure.
and just that ambiguity, and both of us can easily back it up either way.
Because robots don't have hearts. That's why they don't understand music.
I know a lot of humans that don't understand music, so
True, the robot racist.
yeah, no, I think overall it's doing good with playing with that. Just and the fact that we're both watching the same thing, and almost every scene we've talked about, we've been able to come up with completely different interpretations.
Well, my problem isn't with, or rather, the best way to phrase this is, the script is not great.
No.
The plot is loose.
Yeah.
Which these questions, what's causing the questions is actually more in the scene framing and like the like the directing choices and the scene constructions.
Yeah.
And that's where this show seems to be excelling.
Yeah.
It's I kind of look at a lot of these series like a fish and chip shop.
Mm.
You go to a fish and chip shop, one's gonna have perfect batter, great tartar sauce, but the chips are terrible.
Yeah.
Whereas the next is gonna have, great batter, great chips, but the tartar is weird.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens with a lot of these series, especially when it comes to when we're watching these more with a more analytical framing. In the second wall is where things fall short, they really fall short. Like Handsome Cop or the season
that didn't exist.
the season that did exist. Yeah, and a lot of that I think has to do with it has to do with the script and some of the character choices in this show. I'm probably gonna be unsatisfied with. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's got 30, maybe 40 minutes of content to wrap this all up in. And how's it gonna do?
Yeah.
Well,
so I think one thing to keep in mind with Slice of Life, this one's setting it up to have a bit more of a dramatic reveal somewhere, but sometimes Slice of Life is literally just, yep, nope, this is just a day. So the idea of not much happening, it's more Seinfeldian in that regards. So I'm not necessarily expecting anything to happen in general. This one is clearly setting something up.
That being said, something did happen in Seinfeld.
Well, something's happened.
They all went to jail. It ended on such a down note.
With that being said, a lot more is happening within an episode. Like there's clear progression happening in each episode. Even if it's even if it's small. I think
the way it's gonna end. Interject here. The only way this can end convincingly is if they just create an environment with a bunch of vague and open-ended questions that don't get answered. Because there isn't an ending.
Yeah.
What makes this show interesting is the way that it's trying to play around with are these robots more human than we anticipate? I don't think Slice of Life is the right environment for it. But I'll be convinced either way after 5 and 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I don't think I'd be upset if we're not given definitive answers in the end.
Oh, they won't though.
Yeah.
They can't. There's no way this
Yeah.
series there's no way this series would be convincing if they gave any answers.
Yeah.
So it's
I agree.
very likely that they won't indicate whether or not Nagi is android.
Yeah.
Even though she's just a Dorikai.
Why not both?
I mean, sign theory would allow for it. Because some humans are Dorikai, and if she's an android and she's obeying the sign, then she may be acting as if a Dorikai would act.
I mean, we clearly have two androids that think they're in love with a Dorikai.
But do they love? Or are they just following the sign? The God sign.
That express strong emotions for each other, regardless of if it is programming or
Expression is
real.
not feeling. All hail the God sign.
To your thoughts about like the weaker script writing, I agree with you. Like again, especially with like Carol and Tuesday, the Angela cut, like where there's very so deliberate in the script writing. I don't mind that this is take such a soft touch to the script writing, I guess is a way to say it.
That's a nice way to
Because
say obviously done in an afternoon.
I feel like they're walking a line that if they added much more to it, it would get rid of the ambiguity that we're building.
See what I take from it is the script writing is playing at being as vague and introspective and creating questions as the rest of the show is in
Mhm.
structure. It's like it's reaching for it but not quite acquiring it.
Okay.
It's just it's there's something about it.
All right.
Especially the fact like I also don't like useless characters.
Who have you seen as useless?
The sister.
Okay. Yeah. Luckily, we've seen very little of her. I think her main use was to be the easy outlet for how, I guess, a more quote unquote personal outlet for the animosity towards androids. I think you could either have her like that or the advertisements. I'd rather get rid of the advertisements and just have her point that out a little bit more instead
Yeah,
as
I
being the
mean,
anti-android. But yeah, no, that is fair.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, she's probably the only character that we can definitively say at this point, anyway. Yeah, useless. Because we don't know about Mystery Girl yet. I have a feeling that's going to be coming up here, though.
Then we'll find out the big twist is that uh, Riku actually didn't have any friends and is like a super hyper loner. So his dad made him a best friend.
Oh God! Oh God!
Robot Misaki theory.
Well, it kind of plays with a couple of the other things they've said. That could be interesting. I don't think that's going to be the case, but that it's hard to tell because, as I said, like we don't really have the rules outside. Like, can they turn off the ring? Is that what that special modification was? All of that stuff could matter there.
Well, we will watch and find out.
Yeah, we will.
Thanks again for huddling around the second wall with us here tonight. Please join us next time as we continue our discussion of Eve no Jenkin with the final 2 episodes. Please join the conversation in the comments, on social media, or at our Discord, as we'd love to get your thoughts on the series. And of course, if you like what we do, please share us with your friends.
Sign theory, best theory.